You're like, don't worry about it. We got this covered.
First, we're going to cover Brock Purdy. There was some stuff released saying that Brock Purdy said the 49ers wanted Tom Brady as a starting quarterback. That Kyle Shanahan said he wanted Tom Brady, and it seemed that Purdy seemed a little agitated by this. I got this quote. Purdy said, "Yeah, he's the GOAT, I get it, but something deep down inside me was sort of like, dude, I just showed you that I can play well in the system, and we were one game away from the Super Bowl. More than anything, I was like, okay, now let's go," unquote. I thought, Brady's not playing anymore, is he? He retired.
Right, he retired. He retired. This was his first year. He retired. And when this was brought to me and I saw this, sometimes in a situation in life, you can have differing opinions and they both can be right. And in my opinion, Shanahan was thinking big picture. I think it would have been a great decision, even though you're looking around and you're saying the 49ers are one game from the Super Bowl right now. But you had Tom Brady, the winningest quarterback in NFL history, the GOAT. It's not arguably the GOAT. He is the NFL GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Been to 9 Super Bowls. And you look around and you look at that 49er team, and at the beginning of the year, you say, yes, Purdy has had an amazing year. But if we can bring in Tom Brady, you're upgrading your team. Also, looking at it as Shanahan, you have a situation to bring in the GOAT, make another Super Bowl run with him. Brock Purdy's behind him, who Brock Purdy could learn a lot by just being behind Tom Brady for a year. It's not like this was going to set, in Purdy's NFL career. He was going to be able to sit behind the GOAT, learn from him for a year, and then still come back. Again, though, I do understand Purdy's side of it. And just one hell of a year last year, absolutely proved himself from being Mr. Irrelevant. And Mr. Irrelevant is the very last guy picked in the draft. And most times, Mr. Irrelevant doesn't even make the team. And not only did he make the team, but he's the starting quarterback for maybe the best team in the NFL. He showed what he could do. He earned the right to be the starter. So I do agree with him. I do agree with Shanahan. Ultimately, it worked out. Brady ended up retiring and becoming part owner of the Raiders. Purdy ended up having almost an MVP caliber season. When you look at the votes, when the votes come in, he's going to be, I'm thinking, at least a top 5 MVP vote getter. Yeah, I would probably say Lamar Jackson 1, Christian McCaffrey 2, Brock Purdy 3. Maybe you put, let's say, Tyreek Hill, someone like that, but he's a top 5 MVP candidate. So in that case, looking at the 49ers, even if they got brought in Tom Brady or stuck with Brock Purdy, this was a situation where I think the rich would have just gotten richer. So that is my take on that one. What do you say?
Yeah, I think what I read correctly, they did offer Brady the position, but he did pass. But honestly,
I think almost any team outside of Kansas City and maybe Buffalo, you're going to consider bringing in Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So if I cut you off, I apologize.
No, you're good. But I mean, Purdy at the time when they brought him on, he was kind of unproven. But I mean, this entire season, you've been able to see what Purdy has done, and I mean, they're one game away from the Super Bowl, and they're going to be going up against the Lions on Sunday. So I mean,
which is a more than likely chance they're going to win. That's right. I remember you're pulling for the Lions.
I'm excited to see how that game is going to go, honestly.
You know what? I'm kind of in your camp on this one where it's like, I think the 49ers are going to win that game. They're at home. They're the better team. They have more talent. I think they have better coaching. When you go right down the line and you start checking the boxes, I feel like the 49ers have everything in their column. But man, would I love to see the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. That would be mind blowing. That's not, there's something you don't even consider is, you know, the Detroit Lions or the Cleveland Browns going to the Super Bowl. And this is no slam to Cleveland or Detroit. It's just that's their reputation. So at the beginning of the year, when you start thinking about who's going to make it, no one, very few people had Detroit in the NFC Championship game. So,
well, we'll see. Hopefully, history will finally be made.
I would love it. All right, what else do we have on tap here?
Alrighty. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. They are going to be making history in the AFC Title Game. According to NFL research, the AFC Championship game will be the first playoff match between former MVP quarterbacks, both under the age of 30. Patrick Mahomes is 28, and he is a two-time MVP. He got in 2018 and then again in 2022. And Lamar Jackson is 27, and he was MVP in 2019. So.
And he's going to be MVP in this year as well. I mean, it hasn't come out yet, but he's going to be MVP.
You heard it here first.
That's the worst kept secret in America that Lamar Jackson's going to be MVP. That game, man, I cannot wait to see that game because, and also
it's gonna
when
be,
you're talking, yes,
it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Oh my God! I mean, the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. When you're talking about MVPs, and I was naming, for some reason, Patrick Mahomes slipped my mind as far as top 5 candidates for MVP. He's definitely in there. First up, Kansas City just continuing the dynasty, and for those who do not think Kansas City is a dynasty, you're under a rock. Kansas City is year after year after year. They're in the AFC Championship game, if not in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson. I still go back to the beginning of the year where the contract negotiations and Baltimore left them unprotected and said anybody that wants him and willing to put up 2 first-round draft picks can get him, and nobody took him. It's one of the most craziest things ever. There's a bunch of general managers, in my opinion, should be fired because you look at all the teams that need a quarterback, and Lamar Jackson sitting there. Maybe the greatest hybrid quarterback, him and Michael Vick ever, running, passing. They can do it all. But this game here showcased, in my opinion, the future of the NFL. Like you said, you have 2 quarterbacks under the age of 30. Patrick Mahomes is 28. Lamar is 27. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 2 quarterbacks under the age of 30. Both of these guys, with the way that quarterbacks take care of themselves and the way they're playing, for the next decade, you could literally have these 2 guys going at it to determine who's going to go to the Super Bowl year after year after year. This is that could be the start of that Manning Tom Brady rivalry. I know Joe Burrow will have a say in that. Josh Allen, I kind of got to slide him out of the picture now. Josh Allen has fallen to Patrick Mahomes just one too many times. But Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes is just, that's the prime showcase. The for me, thinking about it as my Sunday meal, I'm that 49er Detroit Lions. That's that healthy meal. You kind of feel like the 49ers are going to win, but you're going to have it, but your dessert is definitely that 49er Baltimore Ravens game. So
I'm very interested to see how the game is going to go based upon defense, because the Ravens allow
oh
the fewest points per game, and then the Chiefs allow the second fewest. So it's really just going to be about who makes the better calls, I feel like, with defense with this
oh
game coming up.
I agree with you 100%. This is a statement that gets dismissed so many times about defense makes wins championships, and just like you just gave the stat, the number one defense against for people teams going against them is Kansas City, or no, Baltimore, then Kansas City. You look at the 49ers defense, which is which is stellar, and Detroit's defense is nothing to sneeze at either. You have four teams that are very solid on the defensive side, and then you also have four teams that are very solid at quarterback. These are these two things you must have to contend for a Super Bowl, and that's what makes this weekend so interesting. So that's I agree with you on the defensive take on that one. Also, when you look at these four teams, something else they can all run the ball really well. Uh, Four very balanced uh, teams out there, in my opinion. It's gonna be some great games.
I'm curious,
So,
who do you have? Who's your pick between the two?
oh, for the AFC, um, I'm gonna ride Lamar Jackson. Uh, you look at that Baltimore defense. You look at what Lamar brings to the game. If you take the run from Lamar, the passing game is just is he'll kill you by the pass, and vice versa. Also, the fact that they're in Baltimore at home, that crowd's gonna be raucous. That place is gonna be rocking. The weather's gonna be decent. If this was in Arrowhead in Kansas City, and it was a much colder game, I would be leaning toward Kansas City. But the fact that this is going to be in Baltimore, I'm going to take the Ravens. Who are you taking in this one?
I don't know, honestly.
You better flip a
See,
coin. You got to make a pick.
with NFL, I never really like have a pick when I watch. I just enjoy watching them play together, just because most of the teams that play against each other are really good, and so they're fun games to watch. So I just enjoy watching the game. For me, I guess
You got it. I'm just
if I
waiting on
had
here
to
and just waiting on
pick,
you to mention. You're gonna have to pick one of them. Who do you like better?
it's not
And
who I
and why
like
and why
better.
you're I was gonna say, while you're thinking, I'm gonna tell the audience this about Faith. Faith, she follows football, but her heart belongs to college football and those Georgia Bulldogs. So
Yeah, I
that's where a
bleed
real
red and
heart's at.
black.
So that's why she's a little wishy-washy on who she's taking. But I want to you got to pick a side and stick with it.
I guess
Who do
I feel like the Ravens are probably going to win.
you can
So I guess
I
I'm
think
picking the Ravens.
home field matters. That's the 49ers are at home. I feel that gives them an edge. I mean a strong edge. And I have Baltimore and Kansas City neck and neck, but the home field advantage is just too much. And so I'm taking both home teams. Uh, I tend to do pretty well on picking playoff games. So do not you can take my picks to the bank, but when it comes to picking the Super Bowl champion, well, whoever I pick in the Super Bowl, go the opposite direction. I'm horrific at picking the Super Bowl champion, but the playoffs, I'm always pretty solid.
All right,
So
guys. So that means bet a bunch of money on playoff games based on Tate's pick, but not on the Super Bowl.
No, do not. This is strictly for entertainment purposes. I don't want anyone saying, "Hey, Tate told me to put my house up for mortgage, and I am now homeless eating top ramen noodles." But if you win, you can send Faith and I a nice
send
check.
Some money, yeah.
Yes. Not like that Snoop Dogg check, but you can send us a check. All right.
Yeah, no. Alrighty, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back. And talk about Kirk Cousins, Jim Harbaugh, and Bill Belichick. So, see you guys in a minute.